In this project, we were asked to talk about exponential growth and its applications in our everyday life. In our class, we were presented with the example of the Chernobyl disaster that happened in 1986.
Exponential growth can be represented on a graph, and its basic graph is that the point is always on 0, 1, it only has one horizontal asymptote, and the domain is always all real numbers. It also curves up, showing the exponential growth. Some examples of exponential growth are the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, which was mainly caused because the reactor was flawed and the personnel working in the plant were not properly trained. About 5% of that radiation from the reactor was released into the atmosphere. All of the people living around the reactor in Chernobyl were also relocated to avoid radiation poisoning. And population one has been growing exponentially for the last 50 years, with a population spike in between the year 1995 with a population of 960 million. And in the year 2000, it spiked to 1 billion. It appears it is going to continue growing throughout the years. Cell replication is another example. It is the most common one, in fact. It starts with one cell and it replicates into 2 cells during the cell cycle, starting with prophase. It is said we replace over 50 billion cells every day.
Number 1. What is exponential growth? The exact definition of exponential growth is growth whose rate becomes ever more rapid in proportion to the growing total number or size, which basically means that a value continuously grows and its growth rate also accelerates, making it grow faster. It can be either positive or negative growth. Number 2. What is the function graph that models and represented? We use graphs to measure and visualize the growth of said value when facing exponential growth. Number 3. What are the main characteristics? The main characteristics of an exponential graph are it only has a horizontal asymptote, the reference point of a basic graph is 0, 1, the domain is always all real numbers, it curves up when showing the exponential growth. Number 4. What is exponential decay? Exponential decay is the exact opposite of exponential growth. Instead of growing continuously, it decreases continuously, also called negative exponential growth. Number 5. What are the implications of using nuclear energy? The pros: nuclear power is relatively earth-friendly and does not affect global warming as much as other energy sources. And one plant can generate an enormous amount of energy. The cons: it is extremely dangerous and risky, and to this day, science cannot solve the problem of radioactive waste, so in case of an explosion, it will be extremely harmful to the world. Number 6. Do we consider nuclear energy to be clean energy? No. Although it doesn't contaminate as much as other fuels, it still does. The world today could be run by other types of 100% clean energy such as solar, wind, or hydraulic energy, if the world powers dedicated money to it. Number 7. Were we aware that there is a nuclear energy plant in Mexico? We weren't aware of it until we started working in this project. Number 8. Where is it? It is located in Alto Lucero, Veracruz, Mexico. Number 9. Do you think it's safe? Well, you can't make a power plant that is 100% foolproof, but I think countries and world organizations have taken a more serious approach to nuclear energy since the explosion of the one in Chernobyl and the one in Japan. Number 10. Do you agree with the fact that there is a nuclear energy plant in your country? Yes, we don't disagree with the prospect of having a nuclear energy plant in Mexico. Even though it has a risk of exploding, the nuclear plant is a clear sign of development for the country. Number 11. Could the Chernobyl 1986 nuclear disaster have been prevented? How? The disaster could have been prevented if the plant had been built to supply cities rather than supply the military. Another factor that caused and could have prevented is that the power plant was always operated by workers rather than being automated. This made it prone to errors. Number 12. Once the explosion happened, was there any way to stop the radiation spread and its pollution? There is no way to stop radiation from spreading in general, due to the fact that radiation travels through the air and other mediums. Number 13. Do you think that the radioactive pollution generated by this disaster reached Mexico? It is possible that it has reached parts of North America because of the earth currents that revolve around the world. Number 14. What are at least 4 environmental consequences in a global scale of the Chernobyl 1986 disaster? Animals and humans around the Chernobyl area malnourished and starting showing signs of mutant characteristics. The rate of people with mental illness and cancer increased in the whole world. It is said that over 4,000 more people could die from ionization this year. Even after 30 years, the radiation from the plant still does not allow any form of life to thrive in the area. Number 15. What are the environmental consequences in a global scale of other nuclear disasters and use of nuclear weapons? The nuclear bombs dropped in Japan have a lot of consequences in Japan. One being that the rate of kids and people with cancer increased significantly and people are having a hard time reproducing. Number 16. What do you think and feel about these consequences? They are devastating and have ravaged the land, and the nuclear bomb should have never been used in the first place. Number 17. What would be a solution proposal for these situations? Areas around the explosion radius should be alienated and isolated to avoid any exposure to radiation. Number 18. How do we feel working like this? Did we like it? Was it difficult? What did I like the most of working with my teammates in this form? I felt that this project was very interesting, and working with alumni from other campuses was very engaging even though we had trouble coordinating the duties and work. The theme of the project was arousing and it was useful information for the future.